America is the most powerful country in the world. It controls the global financial system. It issues the world's reserve currency. It has the strongest military ever assembled. And yet, it depends on China to build its products. The iPhone in your pocket? Assembled in China. Critical medical equipment during the pandemic? Made in China. Solar panels, electronics, consumer goods, industrial components, all are deeply tied to Chinese factories. Now here's the real question. How did the world's superpower outsource its factory to its biggest geopolitical rival? Was it a mistake? Was it greed? Or was it inevitable? Because today, America says it wants to bring manufacturing back home. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not that simple. And maybe it never was. To understand this, we need to go back. The 1980s and 1990s. The Cold War had just ended. The Soviet Union collapsed. Globalization accelerated. American corporations saw something powerful. China had massive labor force, extremely low wages, weak environmental regulations, government support for industrial expansion. At the same time Wall Street was transforming, shareholder value became king. Companies were no longer rewarded for loyalty, they were rewarded for margins. Lower cost production meant higher profits, higher stock prices, higher executive bonuses. So corporations did what corporations are designed to do. They optimized. Factories moved, not because America was weak, but because capitalism demanded efficiency. In 2001, China joined the World Trade Organization. That was the turning point. From that moment, the world's supply chains began rewiring themselves around China, and it happened faster than anyone expected. Now people ask, why doesn't America just bring it back? Simple question, complex answer. Let's break it down. First, labor costs. Manufacturing wages in China have risen, but they are still significantly lower than in the United States. If Apple manufactured entirely in America, the price of an iPhone could increase dramatically. Are consumers ready to pay $2,500 for a phone? Second, supply chain density. China didn't just build factories, it built ecosystems. Within one industrial region, you can find component suppliers, raw material processors, assembly plants, packaging firms, logistics hubs, everything within driving distance. In America, that density does not exist anymore. You can build one factory, but you can't instantly rebuild 30 years of industrial clustering. Third, infrastructure. China built high-speed rail, megaports, dedicated industrial zones, power grids optimized for heavy manufacturing. It wasn't accidental, it was planned. Fourth, environmental regulations. Manufacturing in the US involves strict labor standards, environmental compliance, zoning approvals, legal challenges, all of which increase cost and time. Fifth, corporate incentives. Public companies are pressured every quarter. If margins fall, stock prices drop, and CEOs get punished. Reshoring manufacturing might be patriotic, but it might not be profitable, and profit still drives decisions. So the problem isn't just political, it's structural. America didn't just outsource factories, it outsourced an entire ecosystem. Here's where many people misunderstand the story. China didn't simply become cheap labor, it used globalization strategically. While American companies were chasing quarterly profits, China was building national power. Think about it. Every factory that moved to China did three things: created jobs, transferred knowledge, built industrial capability. China didn't just assemble products, it learned how to make them. At first it focused on low-end goods, textiles, shoes, basic electronics. But slowly, it moved up the value chain. It studied supply chains, it studied logistics, it studied quality control, it studied manufacturing precision. And most importantly, it invested in infrastructure at a scale no democracy could easily replicate. Ports, mega highways, industrial corridors, power plants, special economic zones. This wasn't random, it was coordinated. China understood something very clearly. If you control manufacturing, you control leverage. And by the 2010, the world realized something uncomfortable. China wasn't just the world's factory anymore. It was becoming the world's industrial backbone. Then came 2020, The pandemic exposed everything. Suddenly, countries couldn't get medical masks, pharmaceutical ingredients, ventilator components, basic electronics. Why? Because supply chains ran through China. Factories shut down. Ports froze. Containers stopped moving. For the first time in decades, Western governments realized something dangerous. Efficiency had replaced resilience, and efficiency had concentrated power. America had optimized for cost. China had optimized for capacity. During the pandemic, capacity won. That's when the reshoring conversation exploded. Politicians started saying, "We must bring manufacturing back." But slogans are easier than systems. The trade war began under Donald Trump. Tariffs were imposed on Chinese goods. The goal? Pressure China. Encourage companies to move out. But here's what happened instead. Many companies didn't return to America. They moved to Vietnam, India, Mexico. Diversification, not repatriation. Then came the semiconductor war. The United States restricted China's access to advanced chips. This wasn't about cheap labor anymore. This was about technology dominance, AI, military systems, quantum computing, advanced manufacturing. Now the relationship shifted. It was no longer just economic, it became strategic. And here's the twist. Even while tensions rise, trade between the US and China remains enormous. Because complete separation would cause massive inflation, supply shocks, corporate losses, consumer price spikes. America wants independence, but markets want stability, and markets still matter. Let's imagine something radical. Tomorrow, the United States announces, "We are moving all manufacturing out of China." Sounds strong, sounds decisive, but what actually happens? First, prices explode. Manufacturing in America costs more, labor costs more, land costs more, compliance costs more, insurance costs more. Consumers feel it immediately. A $1,000 phone becomes $1,800. Basic electronics jump in price. Industrial equipment rises. Inflation surges. Second, time. Building factories is not like flipping a switch. It takes years of construction, skilled labor training, supply chain rebuilding, regulatory approvals. China didn't build its ecosystem in 5 years. It built it over 3 decades. Third, skilled workforce. America shifted towards services, finance, technology, consulting, software. Industrial workforce participation declined. Rebuilding that culture is possible, but slow. Fourth, corporate incentives. Public companies answer to shareholders. If profits drop because of reshoring, stock prices fall, executive leadership changes. In capitalism, capital votes, and capital prefers efficiency. So here's the reality. Leaving China isn't impossible. It's just economically painful and politically risky. The world is not choosing between America and China anymore. It's choosing diversification. Mexico is benefiting from nearshoring. Proximity to the US reduces shipping costs. India is benefiting from strategic alignment. It offers lower labor costs, massive workforce, growing infrastructure, political cooperation with the West. Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, all becoming alternative hubs. But here's the key point. None of them match China's scale. China still has deep supplier networks, massive production capacity, fast turnaround capability, industrial clustering unmatched globally. So the strategy now isn't exit, it's risk reduction. Reduce dependency, but avoid shock. This is not a clean break. It's a gradual shift. And gradual shifts take time. At first, this looked like a simple story. America wanted cheap goods. China offered cheap labor. Deal done. But over time, factories became leverage. Supply chains became influence. Manufacturing became strategic power. Because if you control production, critical components, industrial capacity, you don't just sell products, you influence nations. That's the deeper tension today. America wants resilience. China wants dominance. Corporations want profit. Consumers want low prices. And these forces don't align perfectly. So the real question isn't, can America leave China? The real question is, how much pain is America willing to accept for independence? Because reshoring isn't just economic, it's political, it's strategic, it's ideological. And in a globalized world, interdependence is both strength and vulnerability. Empires don't shift overnight, they shift through supply chains. This was never just about manufacturing. It was about who builds the future and who controls the system that builds it. America didn't just outsource factories, it outsourced an entire ecosystem. And if this breakdown is helping you see the bigger picture, take a second to hit the like button. It tells YouTube this kind of deep analysis matters. And if you're interested in global power shifts, supply chains, and the real forces shaping the world, subscribe, because this story is only getting more complicated.